This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Tuesday, the 9th of July, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. Tobago's murder toll has hit a record high after gunmen reportedly wearing camouflage uniforms shot and killed 4 men in Black Rock yesterday morning. With 5 months left in the year, these murders have pushed the island's total to 16 for 2024, surpassing last year's total of 14. Police have described the murders as the result of an ongoing revenge killing spree between two groups, which began in Mount Pleasant a week ago. Black Rock residents and businesses are now in fear that the war has reached their community. The deceased men are identified as Anselm Douglas, Gregory Hamlet, Samuel McCain, and Jamoki Duncan. 3 of the men died on the spot, while Duncan died last night at the Scarborough General Hospital. Police reported just after midnight the men were gambling at Douglas's home along Black Rock Main Road when they were ambushed by 3 men wearing the camouflage uniforms. They were shot about the body and all pronounced dead at the scene. The 4th victim was shot and suffered a broken leg during an attempted escape. Investigations are continuing. Chief Secretary Fali Augustine has accepted an invitation from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to attend a meeting to discuss crime and criminality in Tobago later today. The meeting will be hosted at the office of the Prime Minister's Central Administrative Services in the capital, Scarborough. Augustine received the invitation on July 5th for the National Security Council meeting scheduled to be in Tobago today. This invitation followed a request made by Augustine in January to discuss rising levels of crime on the island. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is reporting a 15% reduction in violent crime. This for the period January 1st to July 2024. The update from Commissioner of Police Earl Hayward Christopher at the 33rd public meeting of the Joint Select Committee on National Security. While there was a 17% reduction in serious violent crime, the TTPS only recorded a 1% decrease for murders. Meanwhile, the detection rate for murders is 10%. The TTS successfully charged 50 people for 49 murders in 2024. Responding to complaints of people waiting long for police to respond, DCP Julian Benjamin said the average response wait time was 15 minutes. Benjamin said the TTPS was targeting a 10-minute response time. And DCP Operations Junior Benjamin explained a plan is being devised to address divisions which have been impacted by violent crimes, including murder. The focus will be placed on building trust and confidence on communities within the service. He was responding to concerns raised by Chairman of the committee, Keith Scotland, Senior Counsel. The Port of Spain-based Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARFA, says mosquito-borne diseases continue to pose a serious public health risk and threaten the Caribbean region, adding there are more reports of dengue outbreaks with hospitalizations and deaths in some instances. CARFA said it recently confirmed cases of Zika and chikungunya at its medical microbiology lab, warning these mosquito-borne diseases can play a major impact on the way life is and are vital to the tourism industry, on which most of the islands depend. Members of the Caribbean community residing in New York have stepped up relief efforts to help ease the burden caused by Hurricane Beryl, which passed through the Caribbean last week, leaving a trail of death and destruction in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, and also Jamaica. Brooklyn-based St. Vincent and the Grenadines Relief USA Incorporated said in a statement, Hurricane Beryl has taken its toll on our beloved nation, SVG. And over the last week, relief community met to collect donations of items as well as monetary donations. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom announced a £500,000 aid package for Caribbean countries most severely impacted by Hurricane Beryl. The announcement made by newly appointed Foreign Secretary David Lammy. The financial support is intended to provide immediate relief to those whose homes and livelihoods have been affected by the passage of Hurricane Beryl. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
news on this Tuesday, the 9th day of July. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. Of course, it's the R's this morning. We just heard from Dr. Paul Richards. We'll hear from Richard Ragoobarsingh. We got Ruben. And then we got the S's. We got Shane. Of course, my name is Steve Khan. 27 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 26 at Crown Point in Tobago. And of course, the Met Office is saying today is going to be fair, hazy, breezy at times, despite the isolated shower in a few areas. A significant concentration of Sahara dust is expected in our atmosphere. All right. Of course, traffic-wise, school is out. I got nothing to tell you about. Good morning to you, Pablo. What's happening?
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everyone.
Morning. How art thou on this Tuesday morning?
Blessed and highly favored.
Very good. All right, let's see who sent us hellos first thing this morning via Facebook and YouTube. Whoa, lots of messages. Oliver Man Warren, Wendy and James, got Celian Valencia. Boy Bedesi and Davy has not brought me any doubles as yet. Slick Money Grip, Wayne Ramsey, Ray out in a scorching West Palm Beach. Ewart Ratchpole, as I said, scorching. Las Vegas, I've been seeing temperatures above 45 degrees Celsius. Yikes. Maria Cillier, Brent Hackshaw, Rena Boodoo Jennings, John Keto, Nikisha Peer, Marcia Rock in Orlando, Alistair Hart, Gloria Gray, Cynthia Aaron, CJ New York, Michael Robinson in Yokohama, Japan, Shuin Kerr, Wayne Ramsey, Bisnath Prasad, David Wares, who woke up very early this morning, Ian Lee out in London. I see the boys are going to be at Lord's. They met King Charles the other day, talking about cricket. Mo Gaines, good morning to you. On WhatsApp, we have, let's see, we have Michael in London, we got Sankofa, we got Dan Raj, we got GNC Auto Security. We have another one saying good morning, Val saying good morning, and of course, David Nelson saying this good morning. All right, via WhatsApp at 318-1021. All right. See, you're busy yesterday, boy.
Everybody was busy.
Yeah, so you're in a JSC. I think you were there. Did you behave yourself?
I behaved myself.
Wonderful. Going to buy a lotto ticket today. 2.5 million. I can do with a piece of that.
That's how much it is now?
2.5, yes.
Okay.
CJ, yes. I will
Somebody won
answer.
again?
Yes. Sorry, no.
Somebody won again?
Not from the ticket that was sold in Gasparilla, no.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, CJ. He's doing much better. Thank you. Paul Prudent, good morning. Vincent out in Birmingham, UK, good morning to you as well. Hope you're going to watch our West Indies cricket team at Lord's coming up. I have to check the schedule when it starts.
Tobago's in the news.
I saw that murder rate surpassed the entire 2023. I think they're at 14. Am I correct?
It's 16 now.
Yeah. What is going on? I remember Tobago being so peaceful. You could have gone to Pigeon Point. They could have left your windows down. They could even leave the keys in the car, go to the beach, come back. But now,
Someone told me yesterday that there's so many gangs operating in Tobago. Scores of gangs operating in Tobago. And that's the problem. And these people who were killed, these 4 men who were killed, were gambling at somebody's home in Blackrock, and somebody swung by and men swung by and murdered them in some event, something that happened a week or two ago. I don't know.
And I think in the news they said they were wearing camouflage or something like that.
And they were wearing camouflage uniforms, yes. They were reportedly wearing camouflage uniforms. Where they got them, who knows?
Who knows?
So the mother told us now 16 in Tobago. There are 5 months still to go. The dead men are Anselm Douglas, Gregory Hamlet.
Not the Californian Anselm Douglas people.
No. Gregory Hamlet, Samuel McLean, and Jamoki Duncan.
Yeah.
3 died at the scene, 1 died later at hospital.
Oh, so it's 4.
It's a big meeting today in Tobago. The Prime Minister is holding National Security Council meeting in Tobago today. In attendance, of course, will be the Minister of National Security. I think the Minister of Energy, the Minister of Public Utilities usually attends that meeting. And the Commissioner of Police and her team. And Fali Augustine, the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, is attending the meeting as well.
Let's hope it bears
an invitation to attend the meeting. So we'll see.
We'll see. That's it.
I saw ACP Collis, what's his name? Collis on television last night saying that they will arrest the problem, but he said that a couple months ago. So
we'll see.
Yeah, my information is that there's so many gangs. They say there are over 30 gangs operating in Tobago. But every person told me, and the person is in a position to know.
Really?
Believe it or not.
30 gangs.
Yeah.
The TDPS really need to, I don't know, yes?
Well, they reported a 17% reduction in serious crime from the start of this year to July 7th. Yesterday, the JSC, but of course, they have revised targets. They have a 10% target of reduction for murders. They only got to 1% reduction. And they charged 50 people for 49 murders. And this information that keeps coming up, this is not the first time this information about response times to telephone call. They said response time is 15, but I'm thinking that's some sort of average, because most people who have called the police generally report long waiting times for answering the phone in some instances.
I could contest to that.
When they reported there was a 15%, well, it will be average because they would take all the calls and average it out. So they said they are trying to get to a 10% response when you call the police. They're on your doorstep in 10 minutes. I don't know that people's experiences are that the police get to their houses in 15 minutes all the time, a lot of the time. But as I said, I think it's an average. They must have averaged it out. I found the Commissioner of Police handled herself much better yesterday.
Did you? I was not going to ask you that.
She did. I thought she was much more comfortable. I didn't think she stumbled or was thrown by anything. I think even the difficult questions she handled quite well. So is either she receiving media training or she's just getting better at it. I mean, she had a whole year, so
practice makes perfect.
She's getting more comfortable, and which is a good thing. One startling question, which the answer really surprised me. I asked because there was a part I was supposed to cover, which is all the members of the committee agree on what headlines or what topic areas they will inquire about, given a lot of the information to make it more organized now. And I asked, my part was public trust and confidence, and what they're doing to improve public trust and confidence in the police, because that's a big part of the public cooperating or helping the police in terms of information and stuff like that. So, of course, part of public trust and confidence is accountability. So I asked the question about body cams. I said their policy is still, of course, they maintain this, wear body cams and all, what you call it, high stakes encounters, potentially high stakes encounters. So I asked, were officers wearing body cams when they were on an exercise following the kidnapping of Anisha Hussein Singh, the double vendor, when the 4 men died in an exchange of gunfire with police off St. John's Road in St. Augustine. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I would imagine that was an exercise that was planned because they were ongoing exercises to find the woman.
Correct.
And there's several, and eventually the presumption is that the kidnappers eventually found that the police were building pressure and closing in on them, and they released the woman in Central somewhere. Thank God, she was released safely. So those exercises were planned and ongoing. So one would imagine that because it's a high-stakes situation, that body cams would be mandatory, as has been stated before. The commissioner's response was she didn't know. Now that occurred, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 to 6 weeks ago or more.
Yeah.
I'm almost sure a report would have come out of that from the officers who were on the senior officer who was on the scene, which is DCP. What's her name? I forget her name. There's not Natasha George. It's the other female DCP. Anyway, the other female DCP who hosted the press conference right after the men died.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. On location.
And the commissioner said she didn't know if they were wearing body cams. And that officer who hosted the press conference also said she wasn't sure if they were wearing body cams.
So they were not wearing body cams?
I wouldn't say that. They said they could not be sure. They did not know. So, which I think was real, just obfuscation, quite frankly. This when people come before JSCs and they feel the answer will be embarrassing, very often they say we'll supply the answer in writing. Because if they say it right there and then, it becomes the news media take them and use it in news. She's yes, and she said that they only limited numbers of body cams, and not all the officers may have had body cams because there were several operations going on at the same time. But I would imagine that that intelligence would let you know that there are particular exercises that you would more than likely encounter the criminal element. And those were the ones you would want body cams to identify the narrative or to confirm the narrative that, well, these men opened fire on officers and the officers returned fire because the news report said that they were killed in an exchange of gunfire. And it was the open fire on police, and police fire back, and all of them dead. But they could not let me know if they were wearing body cams.
I'm shaking my head.
So we don't think anyway, let me not say that. Zip your lips, Paul.
Yeah, zip thy lips.
You
I don't know
understand?
what what is the issue with body cams?
You don't know?
I know, I just don't want to say.
Body cams tell the truth, Steve Khan.
Yeah, that's right.
Body cams tell the truth. That's the issue with body cams. So, thank you, John Cato. Suzette Martin, DCP Suzette Martin, who was on the scene. So DCP Suzette Martin could not remember or could not be sure if officers in that exercise were wearing body cams.
And she was on the scene.
Well, yeah, she I think she led the press conference. She was leading, and is it ASP Lewis? Wendell's family.
Yeah, Ellen Lewis. No, not Ellen.
Not Ellen. That's not Ellen. It's his sister.
Of course,
It's his sister.
Michelle
Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Michelle Lewis was also in addition. leading the press conference. Which I thought was a good press conference, but they couldn't tell me where the body cams were worn at that scene. I'm surprised one bit, quite frankly. That's why I asked the question. I do ask questions that I don't know the answers to, you know. The question is just a formality, you know. Anyway.
Yeah.
DJ Singh is a poor performance from Cup and her colleagues. Well, yeah, they didn't make the targets, and the targets were revised downward by the Police Service Commission. So I don't know how this strategy is working anyway. And they also spent some time talking about Tobago and what is happening in Tobago. A question was also asked by Minister Ayanna Webster Roy, who is part of the committee, which is a question she received on her phone from one of her constituents. And the question was, how come a foreign blogger could find the gang members and interview them, but the police could not? Now, people laugh at that, right? But there's a very simple answer to that, Steve. And the answer is so simple it will shock everybody. And I'm surprised that the police haven't articulated this, because the DCP Suzette Martin did say that they knew who the gangsters were. The police do know who people who are the gang members. They know. Very often the issue is whether you have enough evidence to charge them and to arrest them, and charge them, right? Because you could have intelligence, and intelligence is not evidence. So you will have information that this person is a gang member, that person is a gang member, but you have to have evidence to charge them. I'm surprised that they didn't articulate the very simple answer. And the answer is really simple. It is, while you will have intelligence, let me bring in Ragoobarsingh. Good morning, Ragoobarsingh.
Good morning, guys, and good morning,
Rich.
And viewers.
Yeah, the answer is very simple. While the police will have intelligence about who the gang members are, because they have a clear sense, because the information I have and the documents I've seen point to the fact that they know who most of the gang members are. Of course, that's a dynamic situation, because gangs change and people die and more people join gangs and gangs move from here to there, and who is the 6 and 7 and 4 and 5 and A and B and C, right? The gang members are not going to sit down in an interview with police and say, I am a gang member. The gang members have done that with the foreign blogger because they want fame and they want rank. You understand? But in doing so, in identifying yourself as a gang member on camera, that itself gives the police evidence to go and say, well, we had intelligence that you were a gang member, but you admitted it on camera so they can now move. It's as simple as that. You know? So a lot of, and you would have seen since the is it Chris Hughes, that's his name?
Yeah.
Since Chris Hughes made those videos with several of those young men primarily, that many of them have been picked up by police because now they have physical evidence in a video that you've identified yourself as a gang member. Now, the other part of that is the police should be doing more work to collect the evidence they need based on the intelligence they have, because Court Master Christian Morris Allen told the JSC some months ago that one of the challenges the judiciary is having is that the police depend too much on eyewitness reports, which are very fallible and fickle. And the police should be employing more scientists among their ranks, including criminologists, psychologists. There's another forensic scientists, you know, so that the evidence gathered is more of a scientific nature, which stands up in court more. You know, but to me, and these are simple. That's a simple answer. Anyway, good morning again, Ragoobarsingh. How are you this morning?
Good morning. She's court administrator, not court master.
Oh, okay, sorry.
There's a master, but she's the court administrator. Even though I'm not too sure.
If she's still, I think she may have retired now. You know.
Yeah, I think she's retired. So I'm not too sure
I think she may have recently retired.
The new court administrator is.
Well, she was at the time she was talking to us. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, she would have been in the position for a while.
Yeah. The other big issue that's in the news is this dengue thing.
Yes.
And mosquito-borne diseases. You all clean up around your houses. It's the rainy season. Stagnant water breeds mosquitoes, breeds dengue, chikungunya, and Zika. I see the Minister of Health is doing a media rounds. We should get him, Steve.
I did.
He's going to be in CNC3 tomorrow, but we should try to get him before
I
the
did.
week is.
I said, let me get it here.
He sent me something.
So I invited him to come on tomorrow. And he said, no, sir, I'm booked up with a contact corp.com.
Contact what?
Corp.com.
We giving you an opportunity to talk. Of course, okay, you're booked tomorrow. Just say Tuesday or something. Really? Hey.
Oh, and as I said that, let me extend condolences to Dr. Nicole Ramlachan, who was supposed to come on tomorrow, but her father-in-law passed away. So condolences to you and your husband and your family.
Oh, okay. Condolences
to you.
Dr.
She said it was shocking.
The Minister of Health sent me public advisory, which I should really send to halfway. Right? Which states reporting dengue cases, the Ministry of Health wishes to remind citizens that dengue fever may be spread by the bite of an infected Aedes aegypti mosquito. And the best means of reducing the incidence of mosquito-borne diseases is through the elimination of breeding sites of the Aedes aegypti species mosquito. And there's a list of contact information for health officers, and symptoms of dengue, including should seek immediate help for treatment at their doctor. Showing symptoms appear between 5 to 6 days of being bitten and can last 1 to 2 weeks. The symptoms include fever, headache, sometimes severe, pain behind the eyes, muscle and joint pain, skin rashes, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. So,
but in addition to that, gentlemen, Wendell did bring up a point yesterday in our chat, is that the regional corporations are supposed to be spraying and helping alongside citizens to clean up their yard and premises and so on. But I've noticed that I have usually, the time I leave the house, you would get the scent that they're being sprayed.
And you hear the
machine passing around and the spraying.
I haven't heard any for months. So
I have not
heard it for a while as you talk about it.
And they usually send out an announcement. Now, folks, if they are spraying, especially those that have pets, or you need to change the water. Dogs, cats, birds. Once they're outside, change the water. Please do that.
Yeah, but I saw a news item last night where it was somewhere in South, because this dengue outbreak seems to have started in southern Trinidad. I don't know if it's still in southern Trinidad or not. I know they're saying Trinidad and Tobago now, but a lot of the cases, and certainly there are 2 deaths so far, a teenager and I can't remember if it's an older woman or older man. I can't remember. But there was this, I think it was in the Dengue area, where they had this lagoon, and they're saying that it hasn't been sprayed for a while, and the lagoon is just sitting there and saying, I don't know, it's like a repository for the birth of all mosquitoes that spread out across the planet. That's how it looks. It's just sitting there. And they're saying, so they were trying to get in contact with the David Penal Regional Corporation to see what they're doing. So they were saying that they were clearing certain waterways because certain waterways were jammed up, which was, I suppose, causing the water to sit like that. I'm not sure. But they came to some neighbors. Because drains, I don't even know what to call it, but it's drains, but it's like a natural drain that they're digging out and clearing. And they came to a neighbor's, one of the neighbor's house, and the neighbor said, no, I don't want nobody, no drain by me, and stop them.
Morning, guys.
So some of the residents were a little upset.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi,
Apple.
morning.
Good morning.
I was listening to you speak, and I just wanted to just make this very quick point. Dr. Fuad Khan, in an interview yesterday, was saying that while he appreciates spraying as one way of trying to treat with the mosquito issue, he said the problem with that is that when you spray, it hangs in the air, but it does not affect the mosquitoes' breeding grounds, which is the major issue. One, two, it affects other insects. And as Steve was saying, it also would affect animals, pets and so forth. So he said, and when that dissipates, the problem still persists. So he does not see spraying as an effective means of treating with the issue of the mosquitoes.
But that's what we've done for years, though.
And that's
Did he
one
suggest- did he-
that
did he
still doesn't
suggest
change the
that-
fact that he says, he was saying that it's been done for years, but the problem would continue to persist as it has.
But did he suggest what is an effective means?
No, he did not. He simply said that he felt that, oh, actually, no, I'm lying. He said that what he believes is, and we carried it in news at 12 noon yesterday. He said that what he
There's a
believes.
pong there, or you know that, right? There's a pong.
It was not. It was
We
not.
carried it in news at 12 yesterday. In other words, if you were listening, you would have known this.
Which is, it is not. What he said is he believes that, he also did not believe that the government, he did not agree with the opposition that the government should call a public emergency. He said what he believes is that there should be a very, the government should embark on an education drive to ensure the public understands how to treat with the breeding grounds. And he said they should hand out pellets or powder, something that the government
They've
hands
done
out.
it in the past. They've given. I have received from the public as people passing. Do you want pellets to put in your containers around the house? They've done that in the past.
I've never had that. I've had it for rodents, but I've never had I was never given. I never knew that.
No, I have received pellets from the public.
I've never received, probably where I live, but I never received them.
And they come into the office at least once a month. They come and they check the premises and so on.
Yeah.
And I did ask about, do you have any of those little pellets you put in the water? She said, yes, you have to go to the St. James compound to get that.
So they no longer hand it out.
Just distribute it to people when you're spraying. Oh, thank you, Avril.
I'm just saying what he said. I heard you all talking, and I just thought I would tell you what he said.
Thank you so much, Avi.
Welcome.
I'm not so sure what the pellets do, though.
They kill the larvae when the mosquitoes breed in the water. So you put it in containers around your house, and they kill the mosquito larvae, so they don't grow into mosquitoes. So the breeding is stymied. That's what the pellets do. It's mosquito poison then.
Should you just not have open containers around your
You can also, but in some people, I think the way they plant pots and other things around the house, some of the way the houses are built, some things just collect water sometimes.
Point taken.
Yeah. So.
And even the plants with the saucers that collect.
Yeah, the plants with the saucers at the bottom. Yeah. Once it rains, they collect water. Yeah. Can we open the phone lines?
Yeah.
That could be a question this morning. Should it be declared a public health emergency? That could be the question this morning.
But I'm sure there are other scientific methods, and I don't know if Dr. Khan is one of the guests we have tomorrow, Steve.
I was just trying to call him there. But
I know I had suggested him because I knew he had stuff to say on it. But I don't know if there are other scientific ways of trying to deal with the issue. I'm not so sure what other technological ways they are trying to deal with this.
I remember they used to use the small little aircrafts and spray areas. You don't see that at all anymore. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
Morning.
I would like to state what I heard what Avi said on the news, and when it was said, I felt it was a political excuse to not do anything. Right? Even if it doesn't affect the breeding grounds, you're not doing you're doing it to help the citizenry in their homes. Right? Also, what he said is what the government always says, clean up around your yard. So in other words, it's your fault. It's not the state not responsible for nothing, it's your fault. Clean up around your yard. Right? Paul, I found it strange what you said there. One of the standard operating procedures about in an exercise, especially where fatality is concerned, is you do a debriefing. Any exercise you do a debriefing, but especially one that fatality happens, is that you must do a debriefing. And in a debriefing, if you have body cameras, it will be examined. So I think it's a fair statement if the commissioner see a body camera and the DCP who in charge see a body camera or don't know, it is fair to assume that there weren't any body cameras or they didn't do a debriefing. Right? And I don't think...
You think I didn't realize there was BS in me? You're right. I was trying to behave yesterday so I didn't get into no trouble again.
You still gave
I was trying to behave yesterday so I don't get into no viral trouble.
Yeah, but this morning you still leave a door open to make the statement when Steve said they didn't have body cameras, you still left the door open to say what they say. No, close that door. They didn't have any body cameras. And
I don't know that. They said they can't remember or they weren't sure.
Yes. All right. There was another point, but there's so much point topics to all talk. I noticed you didn't read an article that was circulated on social media, so I'm assuming that it's fake news about Mark Hernandez.
It is fake news.
Right.
Yeah, I got that. I couldn't confirm.
When I hear you didn't read it, I say, nah, that's fake news. All right, so...
I exercise due diligence, so I don't put out nonsense that people can...
I know this station tries to be very responsible, so...
We are not that other station.
I didn't hear that read. Once I didn't hear that read this morning, I
got it, and I sent it to two people, and I said unconfirmed, and I said to one person, they said, can you check for me? And the person checked, and they responded, it is inaccurate and fake news.
Nice. Good to know. Thank you very much. Have a good day, gentlemen.
All right, thank you. Lots of calls. Good morning. Oopsie daisy. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Paul and Richard.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm Carol here. Last night on the TV6 News, I heard the father of the 16-year-old who died from dengue. When he was giving his account of what transpired with his daughter, he said when she became too ill, he took her, I am just paraphrasing, he took her to the Princess Korea, I think, health facility, where the doctor, he said a Nigerian doctor, gave her an injection and Motrin. Well, he said Motrin. Now, everyone knows when you have dengue fever, you don't give aspirin and that kind of medication, of which Motrin is one. And I mean, that's a serious thing. If the doctor at the health facility gave her Motrin, then the health facility has something to answer. I don't think if anybody has noticed it, paid attention, but I said Motrin, the father is saying they gave her with dengue. I went back, I said maybe no, I heard wrong. I went back, I replayed the news, and that is what the father said. So I think that's something to look into.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's something that certainly the Ministry of Health should investigate if it's not the prescribed treatment for dengue.
Ibuprofen and aspirin with dengue, and the father said they gave her an injection and Motrin. And within hours,
well, I'm sure if it was broadcast, there'll be an investigation, or the family will ask for an investigation.
Yeah. He didn't say what injection she actually got, though, did he?
No, he just said an injection and Motrin.
That could be anything. Yeah. All right.
Thank you. Home, be careful out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Good morning.
You know, I always ask.
You know, yesterday I was when we had yesterday.
No, just sorry, Paul. I was just saying that if I'm getting injection or medication, I always ask, what is that?
Yeah.
I always ask. I need to know in my mind, and then I need to research it and stuff too for my own
situation. Where we identified yesterday, and the responses where some people had no problem with nepotism because of the Prime Minister asking about the FUL for his friend Warner. It's quite interesting that many people had no issue with. What is the big deal? Am I wrong with saying so? Without
split, the poll was pretty much split evenly.
Right. So some
the majority said no. They felt it. The majority said they felt it was inappropriate.
Right, and it was very close as a poll because some people said they had no issue with it. Right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you why that's interesting. The Prime Minister himself in the Parliament, Wednesday gone, divulged to the country the preliminary report out of the SSA investigation, and Part C indicated this, and I quote, as cause for concern. The audit also found disturbing practices of nepotism and opportunism. For example, family members and associates of particular persons and of a particular church were found to have been surreptitiously employed at the agency. So this report has an issue with nepotism. I guess it's not the same kind of nepotism. Open the phone line again.
Yeah, I have a call here any longer. That's why. Thanks for holding. Morning.
Yes, good morning, gentlemen.
Different kind of nepotism.
Well, it has packed so much, I think, out here for people to respond to it. Just one or two things here quickly. Mr. Richard, that what you came up with this morning, I don't know how people could be asking those foolish questions, how the police can't find these people. The people will not give interview to the police as they give that gentleman. I've been saying, I don't know how people keep asking that stupid question. I just don't understand how they expect you to sit down with the police and talk that kind of talk. They're not going to do that. And they're looking for the TV exposure and all that kind of thing. That is what them fellas was about. No. I listened to I couldn't listen live to your thing yesterday, so I listened on YouTube or your program yesterday. But first I want to say, if you notice, when Ole brought back Mr. Gary Griffith, he tackled Wendell again. Wendell decided he's not going to make anything because he don't want. He tackled him again. He tackled the 23 voters that vote. This man having too much leeway. And this thing about the asking about asking about for the Mr. Warner. Now listen to this. Is that timing with that? And let me show you what happened with that. At the time when the Prime Minister would have asked about that, he and Gary and they were chummy. It was not a situation to say, well, an official situation where he instructed him or he told him, well, it wasn't nothing like that. So it was in a mutual kind of way where they were chummy. That is where that went. What happened is after the issue commenting, Gary now remove it from there and bring it here. So it began to look inappropriate. But who knows if the Prime Minister had known that Gary had people that he favored too. That is why he might have asked that. We could ask that too. But Gary don't have to ask nobody to do that because it might have had people that he favored and the Prime Minister could have known that. So it's not so to say it is inappropriate. It is inappropriate if it was in the second stage, like how he and the Prime Minister, and he had to pose it as an instruction to him or something like that. But it was not. So that is why I voted that I don't find it inappropriate because we don't know if Gary had people that he favor. He had to ask nobody. And that could have been one of the reasons why they asked, and it was not an instruction. So when I listen
to me, that's two separate issues, because if Gary Griffith, as Commissioner of Police, favored any person or friend, which is what you are suggesting, favored any person or friend to get a license, we have no knowledge of that.
Exactly. It's hypothetical.
Of the
No,
interaction that we saw. So all we could do is comment on things in the public.
What we know.
What we can see.
Well, exactly. But now watch me. Yes, we could only comment on what we know, but it is reasonable. It is reasonable to assume.
It's still a hypothetical.
Based on how we operate. There is a man like this. He playing in a game, and he playing goes in, goes out, and the bat is his own. When you hear he lost, he will back he back. That is how we listen how we operate. Watch me. Everything with Gary is wrong, you know. The Prime Minister wrong, the Minister of National Security wrong, the Police Commissioner wrong, the past Police Commissioner wrong, the people who do the audit for the thing, right? Everything. He is the head of everything. If you listen to him, but Mr. Richard, you promised me to get Mr. Wayne Heed. Did you do that?
I'm trying.
Okay, I really
want to try it too if you agree.
For me to talk to him.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Richard, do you have newspapers?
No, I don't.
Let's go into the newspapers this morning. It's 6:46, Tuesday, the 9th of July. Let's start with the Express online for today, Bloody Monday. And the article is by Elizabeth Williams, of course, reporting out of Tobago that 4 men were killed by men reportedly wearing camouflage uniforms in Black Rock. The men were gambling at the back of one of the men's houses, and the men pulled up and shot them to death. 3 died on the spot, and 1 died later at the Scarborough General Hospital. Really tragic news. Dengue worry, complaints of mosquito head in Central. Fearful residents take action. There's a picture of a young lady buying a tin of an insecticide. Carson Field siege, son dead, dad critical. Tobago chamberhead stop blaming Trinidad. Schizophrenic woman missing since last week. Earlier, police want feedback from the public. And Labour killed house set ablaze. And mosquito mayhem. So those are the trending stories in the Express.
You know, I don't have the Guardian this morning.
Oh, you don't have it? Okay, well, let me move to the Guardian online.
No, actually, wait. Sorry, I do have it. All right, sorry about that, Paul. So the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today on the front page, Tobago tragedy. That's the headline on the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian this morning. 4 men gunned down in revenge killing spree. Police eyeing criminal gangs with sleeper cells. That's also on the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian this morning. Other sub-headlines. PM meets Farley today to discuss crime. And the main picture is of the area in Black Rock, Tobago, where quadruple murder took place early yesterday. I thought it was a triple murder. It's a quadruple, according to the Guardian. Yesterday morning. The victims are Anselm Douglas, Samuel McKean, Gregory Hamlet, and Jamoki Duncan. All of this is on the front page of The Guardian. And the main inset photos, they're inset photos of 3 of the deceased. Horrific story. In tranquil Tobago. Tobago is kind of the place that Trinidadians go away to get away from it all. And like it's, you know, morphing into another part of Trinidad that we're accustomed to. Back page, Joseph ready for England. That's the main story on the back page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. And the main picture is that of Taylor Fritz of the United States as he plays a backhand return to Alexander Zverev of Germany during their 4th round match at the Wimbledon Tennis Championship in London yesterday. That's the main picture. So that's it for the front and the back of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian this morning.
You know, I could have been snarky. I wasn't. I always trained myself. Let's go to the news day now. CARFA, ramp up mosquito control efforts. Ferguson wants Justice Kangaloo to step down from his lawsuit. Penal Debra Regional Corporation Chairman, rural areas need more help to fight dengue spread. Prime Minister, SSA probe not compromised. Monilal, we can't sing our way out of crime. The Commissioner of Police says it was a 15% drop in violent crime for the period start of this year to now. Hines, COP, SSA investigations ongoing. CPO appeals ruling on special tribunal in PSA wage negotiation dispute. NCC Carnival stakeholder meetings postponed. Augustine Hayes' new TPP executive were ready for the general election. And whistleblower alleged corruption in regional corporation, blogger wants info. So those are the trending stories in your Guardian, Express, and Newsday for today, the 9th of July.
All right. Let's get the results of our morning poll that we asked you yesterday. Do you think the Prime Minister asking the Commissioner of Police about an FUL in relation to his friend is appropriate? That was our poll yesterday. Results are in. 75%, 75 said no. All right. Let's get into this morning's poll.
My suggested question is, do you think the Ministry of Health should declare the dengue situation a public health emergency? Is that okay?
Yeah. I don't mind.
Yeah.
All right. So you heard the poll, right? Do you think the Ministry of Health should declare the dengue situation a public health emergency? 222-8255. North Americans toll free 866-525-1099. Send me a WhatsApp with your name and yes or no. 318-1021. Boy kicked it off out in Debe saying no. Richard M. Jeremiah says yes. Morning, Captain Ron out in Orlando. Morning to you. Let's see, Richard. Right. Let's grab this call. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Nice program as usual.
Thank you.
Just on the issue with the 4 men that were killed by the police, what was startling to me, I didn't see that afterwards when the smoke cleared, that they found arms and ammunition. Because if they were fired at, I would expect there will be evidence thereafter showing the arms. Usually when they have a press conference, you would see all the arms and ammunition that was, captured afterwards.
Right.
That was missing.
Yeah.
And I think the question with the body cams, the questions would you, was there any footage after that incident? And that will have answered the question about the body
Thank you, caller. We're just in the middle of the poll.
All right, sure.
All the best. All right. Finbar Collins says no. Kieran Yipnow says yes. Sherma Paul, yes. David Wares, with only 3 that say no. We'll ramp up the spraying. Okay. Black Pearl says no. Captain Ron out in Orlando says yes. All right. Do you think the Ministry of Health should declare the dengue situation a public health emergency? Yes or no?
That's our poll this morning. 222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. And that's absolutely toll-free. People on all our streaming platforms, you can send your votes via the messaging portals on those respective platforms. And those of you watching us on METV on cable in Trinidad and Tobago and up the Caribbean, you can also vote via WhatsApp at 868-318-1021. That's 868-318-1021.
All right. Michael DL says not at this time. Michael Oliver says yes. Slick and Money Grip says yes. Wayne Joseph out in Ontario, Canada says yes. Lester Craigwell says yes. Nina Simone says okay. Anthony Tinto says yes. Michael Robinson is out in Yokohama, Japan says yes. Cheryl Henry, yes. Helen Keith, yes. Lenny James says yes. I got somebody else saying yes. Edison out in Staten Island says yes. All right. Do you think the Ministry of Health should declare the dengue situation a public health emergency? Julia S. Batiste says yes. Thank you, Julia.
Of course, this was a
Cynthia.
suggestion. This was a suggestion from the opposition, I think, wasn't it? I think so.
Cynthia says yes. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Morning.
Hello. Yes, morning.
Yes. Yes or no?
No, I calling about the health issue.
Yeah. So do you think, are you calling regarding our poll? Do you think the Ministry of Health should declare the dengue situation a public health emergency? Yes or no?
Not yet, but
No.
I think there should be some direction as how to treat with it, because I just looking at another program and the Minister of Health is there and he's stating the statistics like Jamaica, Barbados, and that is not what you want.
Okay. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, currently he on 106. And that is what he's telling us. And the host is 103, sorry. And the host is trying to tell him, listen, come off of the stats and give information, but he's still telling us about this, which is political, wasting of time.
All righty. All the best to you, pal. All right. Carol Guevara says yes. Mrs. R says yes. Mrs. R, that's somebody called Bernadette giving you some competition. Eh? Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida says yes. Nina Simone says yes. Doesn't? Okay. Let's see. What's up? We go in there now. Cascade St. Anne says yes. Jaron says yes. Thank you, Cascade St. Anne's and Jaron. CPT Singh. Oh, morning to you, CPT Singh. All right. You have 2 minutes again. 2.5 minutes again to vote. 222-8255. 222-8255.
So do you think the Ministry of Health should declare the dengue situation a public health emergency and not a pubic health emergency?
Behave, Paul. It's a good thing your mic muted. Miss Ingrid, Tucson, Arizona.
That was very funny, Ragoobarsingh.
Behave, Paul. Says Miss Ingrid says what? Yes. CPT Singh says no. John Cato says yes. Carlisle Cupid says no. CJ New York says yes. Wayne Lala says yes. All right. Do you think the Ministry of Health should declare the dengue situation a public health emergency? Actually, there are so many do-it-yourself mosquito repellents that you can get online that you can make for yourself to get them out. Apart from the usual stagnant water and stuff, but in your home. All right? Richard, you're so bad, huh? Do you think the Ministry of Health should declare the dengue situation a public health emergency? That is our poll this morning.
So 222-TALK, 222-8255. North America, it's 866-525-1099.
Right. Cascade St. Anne's, yes. Cascade St. Anne's. Okay, we did say yes before. Is it someone else in the household? Emmanuel from Fort Lauderdale. Yep. He says yes. You are really going through all kind of weather in the U.S. All right, let's see. Eric Felix. Okay, Rena Budu Jennings says yes. All right, let's get ready to get into our 7 o'clock major news. And she comes to save the day. Avison Hill Bab is here.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is reporting a 15% reduction in violent crime. DCP operations of the TTPS says a plan is being devised to address divisions which have been impacted by violent crime. THA Chief Secretary to meet with the Prime Minister to discuss crime and criminality in Tobago today. And CAFA says mosquito-borne diseases continue to pose a serious public health threat to the Caribbean region. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Afril Sintel-Bab. Good morning. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is reporting a 15% reduction in violent crime. This is for the period January to July this year. The update came from the Commissioner of Police, Early Hayward Christopher, at the 33rd public meeting of the Joint Select Committee on National Security on Monday. The meeting focused on the Violent Crime Reduction Plan. A breakdown of the figures on this matter was provided for the first 7 months of the year compared to 2023.
In terms of a reduction in murders, we have moved from 301 in 2023, unfortunately, to 299 in 2024. So we just have a 1% decrease. A 15% reduction in violent crime, moving from 2,736 in 2023 to 2,324 in 2024.
An update was also provided relating to the detection rate.
Our detection rate, a 20% detection rate for murders. We are at a 10% detection rate. And for 2024, we have been successful in detecting and charging 50 persons for 49 murders committed between 31 for 2024 and the others.
Leadership challenges were also cited as one of the issues which hampered the crime reduction targets, but added the aim is to meet and surpass the goals which were set by the Police Service Commission.
I would like to remind or advise the committee that for the most of 2023, the organization did not have a substantive leadership. As a matter of fact, the commissioner had at one point one deputy commissioner to assist her, and as a result of that, the commissioner and the deputy commissioner would have had to perform the role of commissioner and 3 deputy commissioners.
DCP Operations Junior Benjamin explained that a plan is being devised to address divisions which have been impacted by violent crimes such as murder. Focus will also be placed on building trust and confidence in communities with the police. He was at the time responding to concerns raised by Chairman of the JSC, Keith Scotland, in terms of data available and operations in effect.
We understand the data. The data is there, and we get the data sometimes from the newspaper, from disturbing videos that we get. Very disturbing video from Tobago this morning. In terms of operations, what is the police doing to be seen more robustly present in areas where the data says we need to be present in those areas?
In response, Benjamin indicated a plan of action to treat with this development is in place.
We are looking at the divisions where we are seeing increasing crime, especially where we're seeing the murders, and we have come together with anti-strategies where we want to go into those areas, and you're going to see a high visibility of police officers there. We are looking at the scientific means where it's going to be not just police officers going at any time, but based on the hotspot, hot time, hot products, so that we are going with a target focus.
DCP Suzette Martin told the JSC emphasis is being placed on reducing the impact of criminal gangs and their activities. Martin said emphasis on ensuring accountability and dismantling gangs continue.
We took an immediate action to this crime surge, and we would not tolerate any more violence. Enough is enough. We have our divisional ComStat, and at the ComStat, we now hold our ACPs accountable for the area. Greater accountability is set on them. Additionally, we are dismantling gangs. and gang-related activities, which I think is one of the major issues in the crime in Trinidad and Tobago.
Chief Secretary Foley Augustine has accepted an invitation from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to attend a meeting to discuss crime and criminality in Tobago today. The meeting will be hosted at the office of the Prime Minister's Central Administrative Services in Scarborough. Augustine received the invitation on July 5th for the National Security Council meeting scheduled to be held today. This invitation follows a request made by Augustine in January to discuss the rising levels of criminality on the island. The invitation also comes after an earlier meeting held with the Minister of National Security, Fitzgerald Hines, in April. In a release yesterday, Augustine said that he was grateful for the opportunity to represent Tobago's issues at the National Security Council meeting. Augustine said that the matter of crime affects all members of society equally, regardless of political beliefs. The meeting today in Tobago aims to address the urgent need for effective strategies to enhance safety and security on the sister isle. It is suspected that the proposed Tobago House of Assembly Police Unit will be on the agenda. The meeting will also be attended by Commissioner of Police Earl Haywood Christopher and her team. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. The Port of Spain-based Caribbean Public Health Agency says mosquito-borne diseases continue to pose a serious public health threat to the Caribbean region, adding there are more reports of dengue outbreaks with hospitalizations and deaths in some instances. CARPHA said it recently confirmed cases of Zika and chikungunya as its medical microbiology laboratory, warning these mosquito-borne diseases can have a major impact on our way of life and our vital tourist industry on which most of our islands depend. Well, the Ministry of Health is advising citizens that dengue fever may be spread by the bite of an infected Aedes aegypti mosquito, and the best means of reducing the incidence of mosquito-borne diseases through the elimination of the breeding sites of the Aedes species mosquito. Contact your nearest county medical office of health to report suspected cases of dengue fever and to report potential breeding sites for mosquitoes such as derelict vehicles, tires, drums, tubes, etc., and bush or undergrowth liable to harbor mosquitoes. Blocked or silted drains should be reported to the respective regional corporation. Persons showing signs or symptoms of dengue fever should seek immediate medical attention at their doctor or the nearest health facility. If these symptoms appear within 5 to 6 days of being bitten, they can last for 1 to 2 weeks. Fever, headache, sometimes severe, pain behind the eyes, muscle and joint pain, skin rash, nausea or vomiting, and diarrhea. If breeding grounds for mosquitoes are found on your premises, this can result in a fine of $3,500 or imprisonment for 6 months under Regulation 27 of the Yellow Fever Regulation 1979, according to the Health Ministry. Well, finally, here's weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, mostly fair, hazy, and breezy at times, despite the isolated shower in a few areas. Tonight would be mostly fair but hazy. A significant concentration of Saharan dust is expected in the atmosphere. Persons who are sensitive to these changes in air quality are being strongly advised to take the necessary precautions. You can expect a temperature high of 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 32 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. It is 27 degrees Celsius at Piarco and 28 degrees Celsius currently at Crown Point. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service reports a 15% reduction in violent crime. DCP Operations of the TTPS says a plan is being devised to address divisions which have been impacted by violent crime. THA Chief Secretary to meet with the Prime Minister to discuss crime and criminality in Tobago today. And CARPHA says mosquito-borne diseases continue to pose a serious public health threat to the Caribbean region. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, Avril, for our major news. You could join her again at 8 o'clock for our news brief. Quickly, traffic-wise, nothing really to tell you about. Leaving San Fernando, you got some volume. Riverland Road heading to Couva got some. Chase Village got some. But after you pass Chase Village, Sugargonas, you're going to pick up your traffic by Barataria. All right, that's from Barataria to Port of Spain, heavy spot this morning. Apart from that, it's just a little bit of congestion. Righty. Oh, all right. Before our guest comes online, let's see our morning poll. Do you think the Ministry of Health should declare the dengue situation a public health emergency? Kerwin Duke added to our tally saying no. Righty. Oh, any on WhatsApp? No. That's it. Just one more no, Richie Rich. Where is he? All right. Richie Rich has gone MIA, and I'm not talking about Miami. Yeah. All right. But our poll will stay up on our mobile app and on our website till tomorrow morning when we give you the final results. You want to vote? You got to go to our app or our website at power102fm.com. All right, let's see. Right. Okay. Mina is saying put a few drops of Clorox into a drum water to keep water safe. Yeah, there's a measurement for that per gallon. I don't know what the measurement is. So if you have $1,000 water tank, a 400-gallon water tank, it'll be two separate measurements of Clorox to put in the water. Yeah. All right. So what I usually do, because we have two tanks, so when we always had a constant supply, I switch off one, pretty much drain it all the way down, and then put on the next one and switch off one to keep the water moving at all times. But because of the water situation, I have not done that. So, but I really don't know whether that measurement of Clorox to a gallon of water is. All right. Is our guest coming online here?
He's there already.
Okay.
Any more votes, Steve?
Yeah, I gave it to you like 10 minutes ago. No, I just have one more no.
Just one no? Okay.
Yeah.
So we had 38 people voting on the poll this morning. Of course, the poll is, do you think the Ministry of Health should declare the dengue situation a public health emergency? We had 38 people voting on the poll in the allotted time. Of the 38 people, 29 of you said yes, it should be declared a public health emergency. 9 of you begged to disagree. You don't think it should be called a public health emergency at this point. So, of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day through our programming, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning, which will be Wednesday and mid.
Let's say good morning to Gavin here. Good morning, Gavin.
Hi, morning team, and morning to our viewers and our listeners. A new term in 102.1 viewers, viewing radio now, but a pleasant morning to Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, we told Richard that when the people thought they could get a job in radio to put a camera. That was it. Anyway, morning to you, Gavin Hero. How art thou?
Morning, I'm doing fine, guys, and continue to tread lightly, but stay in the race.
I hear.
A lot to discuss. What were your first responses when you heard the Prime Minister's statements in the Parliament last Wednesday? What were your first thoughts?
Yeah. Actually, before we go into the conversation, just want to say two things. One, we continue to send out our prayers and our support to our Caribbean nations and to the survivors and victims of peril and the mobilization from various organizations. So we are reaching out, and we just want to say, we understand the issues that they're facing. And two, Dr. Richards, I'd like to congratulate you, compliment you on the vice chair job with that JSC on the reduction of violent crime. That was a an excellent coordinating approach. So great job on that.
So that's the Parliament Secretariat. It's not my work.
Actually, Beryl killed 6 people in the US yesterday.
Yeah, it's
heading
really,
a tropical wave, and system is heading to Toronto. Would you believe?
Yeah. So
right.
back to your question. Of course, it raised extreme concerns, especially for an institution as what I'll call as sensitive and as important as an integral to our informed decision making in national security. So it really raised concerns from my part, having actually walked the corridors and understood the importance that this institution plays nationally and regionally, more importantly internationally for Trinidad and Tobago.
Are you surprised, seemingly? Well, first of all, do you think there was enough oversight of the agency given what the Prime Minister divulged happened? Clearly, there was a ramp up of the purchase of arms and ammunition that seemingly went unnoticed for between 2019, 2020 and 2021 and 2022, doubling in the last year from what it was the previous year. And also in the Prime Minister's was the purchase of over 100 types of sophisticated weapons, in some instances with silencers, seemingly also without the knowledge and authorization from the National Security Council, and with clearly unknown to them.
Yeah, well, there's an approach that we're going to have to take this morning. And one of them is that, well, the Prime Minister would have spoken into the Hansard. And I know the former director of the SSA also made some statements. And I think I brushed past that into one of our dailies. And I know then after that, it invited a lot of comments and contribution and opinions in the political gael, and a number of Guamen joined in. But I in the Navy, there's an international signal flag that is called the Alpha flag. And that Alpha says, I have a diver down, stay well clear of me. So I'm going to maneuver in a way of protection and integrity concerning some of these issues. But to the key part of your question, Dr. Richards, it is talking about enough oversight. And sometimes when you have these high-level intelligence agencies, we fall into a sort of complacency as decision makers, as governance in country, to allow them to do what they have to do with the ever so often approaches of all the business continuity plans and whatever. And I'm thinking, and I said it in another place that actually produced my statement on it, that it is a good opportunity now, when we have looked at all of these things, especially with the procurement of the weapons and all of that, to have more oversight over the SSA as we rebuild now, as we restructure, as we look to pick up the pieces, but to ensure that certain actions of the national intelligence agencies are also under that concept of accountability, and we have to raise the volume on accountability, raise the volume on that oversight. Because if we don't, then we'll have agencies doing certain things, and it's left, and the key decision makers are left.
Does the SSA head attend meetings of the National Security Council regularly or semi-regularly?
Correct.
Who does he or she report to?
The National Security Council and the Minister of National Security, and I guess that's how it's supposed to be.
Is it normal for the head of the SSA to inform the National Security Council and or the Minister of National Security that we're purchasing ammunition, more ammunition, the types of weapons, etc., in a report or in those meetings?
Probably not in the meetings, but there has to be some sort of dialogue, not necessarily directly to the Minister of National Security, but there should be channels of accountability so that there's some sort of understanding. Many of these agencies have their own purse, and they're free to do their procurement, they're free to do their acquisitions, but it must be justified at the end of the day, and there must be some sort of status to understand what is the operational status, what is the asset status and serviceability. And therefore, the only way to know this is through oversight or through what is known as a prescribed sort of reporting source. And although it's a high-level intelligence agency, although it's painted with security classification, secret, strictly confidential, along those lines, there are key reporting points at the Ministry of National Security that must keep tab of the spending, and of course what we have and what we don't have, and why we are procuring these things. So there is a process inside of there. So I don't know if it went unnoticed. I don't know if it's been reported that it was unnoticed, or somewhere along the line somebody knew. But
you know what I'm a little confused about? There are several things that are a little confusing to me. One, you talked about international agencies and international, I assume, security agencies and how they function in the Trinidad and Tobago space, if I'm reading you correctly. You talked in conjunction with the SSA. But I assume the interfacing of those international security agencies with the Trinidad and Tobago space would be the subject to government agreements with some sort of memorandum of understanding between the whatever governments and our governments in terms of the reach of those agencies and what specifically they are in the space for. I'm not talking about covert. I don't know that we have a space that needs covert monitoring by other agencies, international agencies, as they may in an international bigger country space. So I'm assuming that would be ordered, or it would be an orderly interfacing, where they provide certain intelligence and certain assets to assist in whatever challenges that we are facing, as distinct from a homegrown agency like the SSA, where you're going to have some measure of oversight, whatever that oversight is. But a lot of that oversight, to me, some of it has to be legislative, in terms of the functioning of the institution and who is your reporting relationship with. Because you have to have a reporting relationship. Every institution has a hierarchical org chart. So you must know to whom you are reporting and what is the substance of what you're supposed to report. So I am assuming there is some level of oversight ingrained in whatever the org structure is. What we're talking about is if the agency goes awry, which is what the Prime Minister is suggesting from the audit report from Brigadier Philip Spencer, is what we're looking at, and how was that missed?
Yeah, correct.
So what kind of oversight do you need for those sorts of issues in making sure that an agency doesn't become rogue, inverted commas, or allegedly rogue, and so what kind of oversight is that, and at what level? Because to me it's like a balancing line. It's like you want the agency to be functional, so you don't want it to be bureaucratically in some sort of straitjacket with everything that it does, but you still want some measure of responsible oversight on the activities of this, whatever that institution is. What is that balancing act there, and what kind of oversight specifically are you talking about, Garvin, that would look at those particular rogue, possible going outside of your ambit and becoming rogue, inverted commas?
No, I hear you. You see, we must not weaponize the term oversight, and you've seen that happen in a number of other platforms. But it's important to maintain what we call the integrity of the intelligence architecture by having that oversight, that accountability. Now, we have to also understand that there's a certain amount of autonomy with an intelligence agency to do certain things and to keep, of course, the executive through our governmental structure informed of what is taking place at the various levels, be it the National Security Council, meetings of the heads of security, or briefings to the minister et al. But there are just two basic ones really at this point, Rich, and those are the legislative oversight to ensure that we are maintaining and we are walking according to the guardrails, and of course operational oversight, so as to ensure that equipment, certification, personnel along those lines, we are kept abreast of what is taking place and how it is being used. Also, the relationships that we are engaging with internationally, with our international counterparts for the geopolitical analysis being a global tension. So that is one aspect of it, plus intelligence sharing that we may be able to contribute to a case on the shorelines of Switzerland or out there in the Pacific or somewhere in another country, but we have gathered pieces of the puzzle that we can share, and we have that sort of exchange. But of course, there has to be that sort of operational oversight and legislative oversight so that the agency understands within the lanes that it is operating. You're not supposed to allow that free will to just, that free reign, I should say, to operate as you should, and because you must keep the thing in a certain type of structure. You have to stay in lane when it comes to
But when you talk about legislative and operational oversight, even if, for example, let's use the Commissioner of Police, who has financial autonomy over the police service, and the Parliament, through the budget, approves the funding, the Minister of Finance releases the funding. Every state agency, to my knowledge, the process is that even though you have financial independence and you can spend the money, you have to report to the PS of the Ministry of National Security what you're spending money on.
Correct.
You can't buy Tulum and say, well, I use the money for guns.
You're quite correct.
So this is happening year on year. Where was that? Where were those reports about where we got 15 million from the government for fiscal 2020, 2021? And by 2021, 2022, we reported this is what we used it for. We bought equipment, we bought toilet paper, we bought guns, we bought ammunition, and these are the listed items that we bought. All state entities have to do that.
Yeah, and you're quite correct. And we would have had the conversation and many other systems before, Pablo, concerning project governance. We've been talking about it. We're echoing the sentiments of adopting the project governance approach. And what you're saying is correct, but the flow is a bit different in that it's not that you get 15 million and you say what we purchase. You have to present what is your project plan. You have to present what is your vision and forecasting and items of acquisition, what you need to get, what are some of the projects, what are some of the equipment. It assumes a total of, let's say, 15 million. Let's continue to use your flow, and then you are granted that purse, maybe in phases, and you are also held accountable to achieve your objectives to which you identified that you needed this equipment for.
So then who wasn't guarding the guard? Because you're right, you have to actually apply to the PS with a project plan for the fiscal about what your requirements are for this year. Correct. Is it ammunition, guns, and then the PS sends it to the ministry technocrats look at it, and they approve it, and then after that you have to account to see you actually used it for that. So where did this thing fall apart?
That is the burning question. Did it fall apart? Where did it fall apart? Or did somewhere along the lines, be it in the lines of the ministry, on the lines of the SSA, somebody didn't do their job or haven't been able, and we're picking up the pieces now. So that is why it is so important. What is taking place now with the SSA is not entirely a negative thing. Yes, there may be some scars. It may be surface.
It's very negative. It is a very negative thing.
Yeah. No, listen. You use that opportunity to understand purging when it comes to intelligence agency house cleaning, and you utilize this situation, this flag that went up, to recognize. Wait a minute. There are some flaws in our system. Let's fix this, because we have to rebuild and restore the integrity of that agency. And to do that, you have to move from the lessons learned, the errors made, but people must be held accountable. There's a term in the intelligence industry called remnants. If you're house cleaning and purging, you must be sure to be meticulous and not leave any remnants. When you leave remnants, it chips away at your foundations. So it's very, very important. All what you have said, quite correct. What I have contributed in complementing what has been said, quite correct. But are we expected now to see that house cleaning? And then who's going to do it? How is it going to be implemented? And how is the reporting aspect of what has been done be revealed according to stats data, and now a whole new production line of the new face of the SSA? Those are some of the key things that are facing us as we speak.
Should it be that, because I always try to factor in that we are a small space, because I always think that's part of our problem. that infuses a lot of these issues that we have is because we are a small space and you have different personalities. So there are two questions I have. One, on news last night, they interviewed people on the street, and by far the majority of people did not believe that this was an issue of any possible overthrow of the government. The vast majority of the people that they interviewed felt it was a ploy for elections in 2025. They were very, I'm stating it broadly, but along that line, they felt very cynical about it. There were one or two maybe that were questioning the issue, like are we discussing it, but the vast majority of them were pretty dismissive about the issue. And how serious it was or not serious. And they felt it was an election coming up in 2025. Brace yourself for anything along that lines. That's the man in the street in one of the news programs.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, do you believe that there was a plot in terms of the SSA to overthrow the government? That's one of my questions. My second question is, should we look, even though we have an agency that is having some level of oversight in terms of a very specialized agency in terms of monitoring and a very elite division, should we maybe, I'm just asking a question, move away from a Trinidad and Tobago centric agency and maybe move to a Caribbean centric agency at that level, where the oversight is even more robust from a regional level?
Yeah.
Those are my two questions.
Yeah, and they're great questions. The first one is sensitive, but we have to go with what we were told. We are just being informed with what we are being told. I am not sure what are the details of the report that would have prompted the statement of the Prime Minister to say what he said. Based on what we are hearing as to overthrowing a government, we have to understand that if something has taken place within one of the agencies that can affect the stability of the government or reveal certain information that is considered secret and sensitive, then in fact the stability, the what we'll call the integrity and the continuity of such of our governance can be affected. I don't know if it's along those lines or if it was basically a revolution kind of overthrow coup. I can't say that. So I would prefer to not answer that in detail because I'm not exposed to the information that has been revealed. But what we have to understand is that the SSA played an integral role in holding the stability of information and informed decision making. And if that is compromised and affected, then the stability of a government can be affected. And that is why that's how I see it. With regard to a local and a regional, I've advocated, for instance, for us to start looking at the CBI, which is the Caribbean Bureau of Investigations, and involving what we'll call a significant aspect of intelligence gathering. But we still do need that national intelligence agency sort of operations within our country. The SSA, although it's localized as for our geographic positioning, is an international agency, deals with regional and international intelligence, and is respected on many tables internationally. We've conducted joint operations, joint intelligence, dealt with a number of stuff regionally and internationally that won't be promulgated in the public domain. But it's a respected agency based on the work done in the past. Hence the reason that brand and that image sort of is still there, and there's an opportunity to build from that cornerstone. And I continue to applaud the hardworking, honest men and women of the SSA, former and present, because there are some good souls in there, to be quite truthful, men and women capable of holding the integrity of that unit.
So their reputation would have taken some banging because of what's playing out in the local space.
Yes.
And so I don't know what your thinking is. How much do you think international intelligence agencies had a part to play? How much do you think they had a part to play in whatever revelations
coming out of the SSA, or do you think that was a totally domestic space revelation?
No, the audit was conducted by former Brigadier General Philip Spencer. We have to understand.
No, I'm not talking about the audit. I'm talking about the realization that something was amiss.
Yeah, well, if there are relations and stakeholder relations as such, and information is being received and gathered, as I said, I think there would have been some contributions, basically some questions and answers, some interviews, but I can't say to what level of contributions they would have had regarding this revelation. I don't think it's also strictly local either. I think it was an overarching overview or oversight of the unit, of the agency. So there would have been some international contribution to this, but I'm unable to say because I'm not too sure what were the buttons that were pressed. But if something like that is being done in order to receive the information and provide a report that was so far submitted, it was expected that it would have been done both locally, regionally, and internationally, so as to come up with there was no a comprehensive viewpoint and that sort of 360-degree look. I'm hoping that is what would have been done.
How does the SSA recover from this?
I think recovery is important, and we have to look at phase development now going forward, picking up the pieces. One of the key things, as I said in the opening statements, guys, is that the need to know from the law-abiding, need to know citizens that the functionality of the SSA is still there. There's still an ability to produce actionable intelligence. But I think at this point, I would strongly advocate that the government looks at pooling together some subject matter experts and a tasking and coordination approach, and offer now the tasking of rebuilding that SSA from the ground up, and ensuring that it maintains its integrity operationally along the lines of legislative, and more importantly with that sort of key aims and objectives that we intend to achieve going forward. Because it's a good opportunity now to recognize that the tide has shifted a little bit. The environment has changed incrementally. We now have to change incrementally in how we operate as a national intelligence agency. So I think phase development and a strong, subject matter expert team, tasking and coordination, giving certain tasks, coordinating those tasks, achievement over a period, and rebuild the SSA in phases, maintaining its operationality first and foremost, so that we fix the plane while it's flying.
But can it ever get back to that level of trust that is required, though? Because this is pretty serious in terms of the civilian government saying a quasi-military institution had certain malintent against the civilian governing structure. I'm putting it in, grandiose terms in a sense, but that's what it was. So how do you rebuild the trust between these two institutions? Of course, the governing institution is by far more powerful in a sense because the powers are more expansive in terms of what it's dealing with. But how does it work alongside an agency where it now has reason to mistrust?
Yeah.
How do you rebuild that trust without that side of it looking at you out of the corner of the eye? I wonder what they're up to, boy.
You're correct. One of the key aspects in that whole rebuilding of that wall, one of the bricks that go into that foundation is trust. Trust is a key part of an intelligence agency. Yes, and in the early stages, in the pre-embryonic stages, you are going to see people watching you, not to sure they want to share. Are we sure this thing is sanitized? Are we sure this thing has been cleansed? Was the purging properly done? I am not too comfortable. You are going to get that. And the best way to treat with rebuilding that trust is performance. Let me say that again. The best way to rebuild that trust is with performance. And in such a way, that's why I am advocating, I'm holding on the operationality, the functionality, that operations aspect of the SSA, the actionable intelligence has to come to the floor. That is what has to be prioritized so that the trust aspect of all of the stakeholders regionally and internationally can be maintained because of the performance, because of the type of intelligence that is still coming out of those corridors. And that has to be done with subject matter experts understanding how to use the tools. Because at the end of the day, the SSA is an integral tool. It is not a replacement for other agencies. It's a tool that can be used to ensure that the safety, security, and the integrity of our critical infrastructure remain secured.
Cameron, how concerned are you that the agencies whose task it was to gather intelligence at the highest level, analyze this intelligence, and then pass this intelligence on to the National Security Council, the Commissioner of Police, and in some instances, regional and international counterparts, in the interest of the fight against crime and criminality, in the Prime Minister's words, was so compromised that there seemed to be an attempt to remove or usurp the authority of illegitimately elected government by what he described as a religious XYZ. And it seemed to have been happening over a period of time, which also implies that there may have also been, at some level, a compromise of the intelligence and or analyses sent to the National Security Council. Because if we are to believe that it was trying to undermine the government, part of doing that could be sending erroneous information. You understand? To mislead the government for whatever reason, if we are to believe they intended to undermine the government's efforts, and also regional and international counterparts. So, and part of, I know, the check and balance is that international agencies corroborate what they know with the local and regional agencies' intelligence. Would that be correct?
Correct.
And when there's commonality, there's a higher chance that this information and data is correct. So if you're saying you have 12 gangs in Trinidad, and the regional people saying that, and the international people saying that, we know that more than likely there are 12 gangs in Trinidad. If you're saying there are 12, regional saying there are 4, and international saying there are 16, we have some discrepancies that we have to resolve. How concerned are you that a lot of that information, given what the Prime Minister said, may have been compromised and impacted negatively the fight against crime in the country?
Yeah, and that is where the metal hits the road, because at the end of the day, we are depending on the product that is coming out of the SSA. And if for some reason there's a feeling, an understanding, a perception, there's data, statistics that shows that there was compromise, then every single touch of the brush will be looked at as though it was compromised. And that is why, as I continue to say, the integrity and the performance now is going to be very, very important, because there must be concerns that then what have you been telling? Then what you've been telling me is this? Can I trust this within the last 6 months to a year, or was there some sort of doctoring, or And I'm hoping that there wasn't. I don't think that there might have.
So then why should international agencies now, given that we clearly, in some way, form or fashion, drop the ball in monitoring and managing our own agency, believe that we have put systems in place to ensure that the information coming out of Trinidad and Tobago to our counterparts in North America and Europe, UK, etc., is credible, given what we have admitted ourselves?
Right, exactly. And you see that when you make a statement, not you, Pablo, but when a statement is made like that, it hits the global system, and everybody, stands up and the eyes are open of what the hell, because it will now affect our relationships. It will now affect what we were depending upon in order to fit those puzzles outside there. And as I said, as I told you before, SSA was not only it might have been positioned geographically, locally, but it was considered an international counterpart. We contributed internationally when it came to intelligence and geopolitical analysis, and therefore everyone has to be concerned of what took place. That is why we have to ensure now that we provide a sort of house cleaning going forward, so that we can reestablish the integrity of the unit, of the agency. It's very important. Even the media, is very concerned. security, safety, the country, the business fraternity, investments and all of that depends on the type of intelligence that comes out of your country. And we're continuing to see things like the US advisories, the UK advisories. You're wondering now how stable is the security of this country.
Do you think those advisories or the reissuance of those advisories are related? They came 1 and 2 days after the Prime Minister's statements in the Parliament.
Quite related.
Do you think they're related?
Yes, they are.
I'll tell you why I asked the first question. The SSA came before the JSC National Security about 3-4 years ago, and they presented out of the public view because the information was national security sensitive. So very often they would not broadcast those things. One particular scenario regarding gangs in the country, and the police had a different scenario. And we were very confused as to which one was accurate. Now, in retrospect, hearing all this,
yeah,
you understand?
And you were just as you said, a governmental fraternity there doing what you had to do. But when you have disparity, when you have that sort of differentiation in information and intelligence, one wonders then who is actually telling the truth. And everybody's supporting with data. Pablo, if you realize, in both of them, everybody provided their own data to justify what they were saying. And this is why we need to have a standardization. There's supposed to be a tapestry that is linked together when it comes to our intelligence, so that there's a sort of understanding and a standardization of the intelligence from the SSA is supporting the TTPS, vice versa, the TTDF. We have a nice sort of chemistry concerning that intelligence in country. And before in country, we had something called the JIG and the JOG, the Joint Intelligence Group and the Joint Operations Group, that provided the collaboration. So there was a collaborative approach for intelligence gathering, and everybody shared and spoke and talked on the table. In the Joint Operations Group, there was a similarity where there was a joint theatering of the intelligence in order to execute operations and maximize the assets of the state. And we need to come back into that sort of approach, that sort of national intelligence culture in executing what is known as the quick wins and the understanding and the operations of the JIG and the JOG in the country, to make sure that there's a standardization of the intelligence and a similarity reflected across all platforms.
Would you be ready to take some calls?
Sure.
So we have our lines at this point.
I have 10 more minutes for you guys, though. I only have 10 more minutes.
Okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. All right.
So we have our lines at this point.
8255 North Americans, 866-525-1099. All right.
I just think it's interesting to me that all this could happen under the nose of the National Security Council, and there were no mechanisms to red flag spending, red flag personnel hiring, red flag subversive efforts at the level which is guiding a lot of the decisions of the National Security Council.
Yeah, when I interviewed Gary Griffith last week, I raised the issue of the church members, and he didn't think that a group. I'm paraphrasing, but when I asked him, was that a red flag for him in terms of the number of people who belong to one religious organization? He said it wasn't a red flag for him. Was it a red flag for you?
I think if there was a large percentage of recruitment, I don't know, I can't say, but if there was a large percentage of recruitment coming from one specific religious institution, then of course it's a red flag. Then why is everybody coming from this specific institution? If it's Christian employees along the lines, people who indicate that their religious persuasion are Christians, then that's fine. But if you have a tunnel sort of approach, and we have 10 people coming from one specific institution to the SSA, then of course it's a red flag. It has to be noticed like that. But I don't have that data to say. I'm just going with what is said. But we in institutions and agencies in the country, people coming from all walks of life, all levels, all various sort of beliefs and systems. That's a major part of the thing, to the diversification of how we build and structure our agencies. But if we
should
have,
we be looking at all the other security agencies and doing a deep dive to see if there are anomalies also?
I strongly agree that we should. I advocate that we should. This is an indicator. That's why I tell you, it's not. It sounds negative. It is, in fact, a sort of negative brush. But it's also an indicator. Switches going on. This is an opportunity for us to fix and do some house cleaning across the floor. So that's how I see it, and I see it as an opportunity, for purging. It's a portal that has been exposed for purging, and we should now. This can't be just an SSA issue. Let's look at all of the other agencies. Let's begin that sort of approach and ensure that we can sanitize and rebuild the thing in a way that we will continue to be the envy of the region when it comes to our.
What's happening in Tobago? What do you think is happening in Tobago?
Okay, hold that thought for 1 second. I've had a call on for the longest while now. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. Nice discussion. What is most startling for me is that I think the Minister of National Security will have said they were having bi-monthly or monthly meetings with the SSA. So it means then they were being misled all the time, not being kept abreast and accountable as to what was being done within the SSA, and they were had a reign on their own to do whatever they wanted to do. It's very shocking to me. Thank you.
Thank you. One more call and then we'll answer Paul's question. Good morning.
Good morning.
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 Great show as always. Great show as always.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Hira, you spoke about some institutions or intelligence agencies should be given a level of autonomy. But even with a level of autonomy, there has to be some sort of accountability, right? That's one. And secondly, my main issue really is all intelligence agencies should have some terms of reference by which they operate. I would like to know if the importation of guns and the building of ammunition was that part of their terms of reference? Thank you.
Yeah. So, the two callers made some very good questions. Great contributions. And in fact, if we were having bi-monthly meetings or whatever, then what was actually being spoken in those bi-monthly meetings? What were some of the issues of reporting and keeping abreast as to the developments and what was taking place at the SSA? So he was quite correct, that first caller. The second caller is on target. To be quite truthful, he's on target, because if you're giving autonomy, there must be accountability, and within that accountability, that is not an excuse for free rein to do as you will. So there has to be some sort of oversight and keeping your hand on the pulse as to what is taking place. And the terms of reference that you mentioned is something what we were saying, Pablo, with regard to what is the part of your forecasting? What do you intend to do and achieve over the next 6 months to a year? How much is that going to cost? And when you are actually given those purchases or acquisitions, we have to be able to do those 3 M's: measure, manage, and monitor, to ensure that it is being effectively utilized. So I think the callers are on target with those questions. As for Tobago has gone in a totally next direction, and who would have expected triple murders, and drive-by shootings to the extent. I don't think it's the migration of Trinidadian gangs going up there. I think it's that whole aspect of that control factor of organized crime touching the ground now in Tobago and sprouting up now, gang warfare to a level that we never really saw. And with that needs a sort of action that brings that to a stop, because we can't leave that thing to breathe. We can't give it oxygen. That needs to be brought to a stop, and it needs a certain amount of courage in our decision making and our operations. Because if that is left to grow any further, it can put Tobago is our jewel. That's our investment. That's where people. That's a destination, and you don't want to push back on visitors. Tourism is one of the main bread baskets of our beloved Tobago. So I'm very concerned of what I'm seeing taking place in Tobago presently.
Paul, you're muted.
You're muted, Paul.
Thanks, Echo.
So you don't think it's Trinidad gangs? Many are suggesting, "Oh, it's Trinidad gangs going over there and creating mayhem." You don't think so? You think this is homebred Tobago criminality? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying that, and I'm saying that the establishment of gangs in country and the whole gang culture thing is a franchise. And don't get too misled by that. They are representations, but it's not Trinidadians that have migrated. It's a representation of what is taking place in country. They're now in possession of high-powered weapons, so we have to pay attention. I said it before in another forum in a conversation. We have to pay attention.
So what are the states in Tobago? In Trinidad, it takes drug turf, turf in general, so-called businesses and money. What is driving it in Tobago, in your opinion? Same thing?
Same thing. Transnational organized crime has its tentacles all over. And I wanted to get back to the point that I'm talking about. There has to be a proper border control management aspect for Little Tobago. We can't isolate the border control management, the breaches in the border control in Tobago. We had a vessel overturning there and an oil spill. We have vessels, penetrating the territorial waters of Tobago. We have the gun trade, the narco trade that has been continuing over there a number of years. But it's a close knit. Everybody know everybody. Tobago. So therefore, it's very, very important to understand how we operationalize to stop. I think the heads of security are actually meeting there. If not, I think it's tomorrow. And the CSSB, the chief secretary, has been invited. I'm hoping that there are good discussions there to move in a direction of tactical approaches to bring this thing to a close.
The meeting today. Gavin, closing comments, please. Closing comments, please. Your closing comments.
Yeah, my closing comments is that I think the government really needs to put together a good team, a subject matter team that will focus on the rebuilding and the restructuring and the restoring of the integrity of the SSA, starting from the ground up, and give them a tasking and coordination phase development so that we could ensure that the product that continues to come out of the SSA will continue to be one of high level and respected and trusted. And I think that rebuilding is something that needs to be also exercised across all platforms of our key intelligence agencies in country. Used what the indicator of what took place in the SSA as an opportunity now to look at some of the other agencies so that we can ensure that the safety, security, and more importantly, the comfort of our citizens of Trinidad and Tobago is dependable on the agencies that are so positioned to provide that information. Stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you, Gavin Hira. Much appreciated.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. All the best to you.
Good day, guys.
All right, take care.
All right,
gentlemen, so we wrap it up. Of course, today, let me just say, today is the 89th birthday of Slinger Francisco the Mighty Sparrow.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Sparrow. I just wanted to remind people, of course, that theater on this weekend. Love is a Walk is on at Napa on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Tickets are available. It's the final show, by the way. So it's the final performance of Love is a Walk. So if you missed it before, this is your last chance. So it's at Napa at 6:30 p.m. this Sunday. Tickets available at the Napa box office. Tickets also available at K Squared Fashions at West Mall, East Gates, and in Brentwood Mall in Chagonas. You also have tickets at Electronics in Arima, Jabili Rawi in Tunapuna, and Tony's Florals in Valpark Shopping Plaza and Sharpley Auto Services in, guess where? Sharpley. So those are all of our outlets. You can also purchase tickets online. You can check RSRR Productions Theater on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn for any further information and how to purchase tickets online. We're so looking forward to it. I know tickets are selling at all outlets are having sales. So get your tickets early. Sunday, Love is a Walk. I'm looking forward to it. Have a great day, whatever you do, and remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health.
Have a great day, you all. Be safe out there.
All right. Chat with you all bright today, tomorrow morning. Of course, Wendell will join us then. Let's get into our 8 o'clock news brief.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is time for your news update at 8 o'clock. I'm Avril Cynthia Bab. Good morning. Security expert Garvin Hira says it's a good thing that the SSA will now have more oversight and accountability. He was commenting on the recent audit report of the SSA laid in Parliament by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. He said there should be channels of accountability from the SSA and maintained that while the SSA is a highly secured agency, there must still be oversight and accountability. Hira told the Power Breakfast Show this morning that there is supposed to be legislative oversight to ensure that they are walking along the guardrails and operational oversight to keep check on things like weaponry, etc. He said that the agency can use these to understand the structure under which they are operating. He said that since such a structure was already in place, the burning question is when and where did the structure fall apart? He said the house cleaning that is taking place now must be used to answer that question, and the answers used to help strengthen the new structure in the SSA to rebuild and restore confidence in the agency. Chief Secretary Fali Augustine has accepted an invitation from Prime Minister and head of the National Security Council, Dr. Keith Rowley, to attend a meeting to discuss crime and criminality in Tobago today. The meeting will be hosted at the Office of the Prime Minister, Central Administrative Services in Scarborough. In a release yesterday, Augustine said he was grateful for the opportunity to represent Tobago's issues at the National Security Council meeting. Augustine said the matter of crime affects all members of society equally, regardless of political beliefs. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is reporting a 15% reduction in violent crime. This is for the period January to July this year. The update comes from the Commissioner of Police, Earl Harewood Christopher, at the 33rd public meeting of the Joint Select Committee on National Security on Monday. The meeting focused on the Violent Crime Reduction Plan. DCP Operations Junior Benjamin explained a plan is being devised to address divisions which have been impacted by violent crime, such as murder. Focus will also be placed on building trust and confidence in communities with the police. He was at the time responding to concerns raised by Chairman of the JSC, Keith Scotland, in terms of data available and operations in effect. In response, Benjamin indicated a plan of action to treat with this development is in place. The Ministry of Health has issued a public advisory reminding citizens that dengue fever may be spread by the bite of an infected Aedes aegypti mosquito, and the best means of reducing the incidence of mosquito-borne diseases through the elimination is through the